Let's see. I've got. You hear us, Andy?
Yep. QX, what did you do?
I didn't do anything. I don't have control of this.
You're
Andy?
exactly. You're out of control, man. You're out
I
of
know.
control.
Andy. I've got YouTube on, so I'm listening for if we come back. But Andy, you there? There we go. All right, you're good, Kirsty. We've got volume now.
All right.
All right.
So let's repeat then the introduction part. Otherwise, it would be disconnected. My part from others. I mean,
let's try again. Hello, everybody. Good morning. It's an early show today, so we can have.
I gotta do that whole thing over again.
You can skip. You can skip that, Dan. It was like a 5 out of 10.
No. It wasn't. It wasn't. We're setting we're setting up the scene.
All right, go for it. Set it up. Start again.
Scene. Yeah. All right. Well, the sound is here right now, and hey, everybody. Welcome once again to the AMA. And so, yeah, I have, now that we don't have context, I have to my stage right, I have none other than Kushti. Say hi to everybody. Again, Alex.
hi, everyone. My pleasure to be here again.
Again, for the second time today. And to my stage left, I have, a certain Yahoo named QX.
Huge Yahoo. Good morning, everybody.
Yahoo that's sometimes serious, so we'll call him Yahoo Serious.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's Zachary. Anyway, all right, well, let's get started with the AMA. So, as I was saying before, when nobody could hear me, except for Alex and our favorite Yahoo QX, Alex, why don't you give the people a little bit of a breakdown, a rundown of what's been happening?
Yeah, so a lot of things going on at the same time on different levels. Well, in the first place, there are a lot of talks in the community now, about positioning, the Ergo movement. So it's kind of free movement, so everyone is free to position, himself and his own group in any way. But there is also need for coordination. There are certain requests about that, certain demand, especially these days, when many people have feeling that it's another pivot point for cryptocurrencies, right? Cryptocurrency movements. Because of many events going on recently at the same time. Please join discussions, and I believe we need to organize some more calls, like town halls, as soon as possible. In regards with development, there is good progress with subblocks. I've got my own local miner-based DevNet just today, correctly generating input blocks, sub-blocks with transactions, and creating proper commitments. And then as a next step, I'm thinking about adding APIs for applications immediately. So some early version may be available in just few days. And only after that, I will jump on hardest and very time-consuming parts, but also invisible to application developers, such as peer-to-peer network optimizations and so on. Application developers at least will have possibility starting from very soon, TM. to play with well, single nodes, local miner based testing environments, at least, right, to check well how to speed applications up with input blocks, subblocks. Then yeah, for 6.0 well, audit is going on. And yeah, well, I think well, there is one small issue left now. Well, we are discussing. So me, Dusik, and Morphic, different issues and aspects of design. But yeah, currently there is one small issue left non-fixed, and then yeah, we are good with doing public testnet deployment, and yeah, also then it's a good time to reach mining pools in regards with well, possible activation dates. So yeah, a lot of things going on. Then yeah, some talks going on. I'm actually pushing for some talks and some decisions in Ergo Devs DAO. So well, the point is, I'm actually thinking to rework the DAO and make PoW based DAO. Well, I tried yesterday, actually, but yeah, then got into, well, tokenomics questions, so we are discussing it right now. But what I'm proposing is to have just temporary DAO, so Ergo Devs 2025. Right, to have very concrete specific goals for 2025, and then yeah, then also pretty specific funding goals, right, to be met to reach the goals, and then yeah, well, also to have very well specific concrete initiatives, education initiatives, and so on, and yeah, also help the ecosystem with tooling, education, well, getting new developers. There are some proposals about having something like Google Summer of Code, right? But yeah, it's winter in Northern Hemisphere now, so maybe it would be Ergo Winter of Code. I don't know. Let's see, maybe spring. Then what? Spring of Code actually sounds good.
Winter over discontent.
Right. Then yeah, and so the idea is to have just a temporary organization, right? And then yeah, fire it up totally at the end of 2025 and start from scratch next year. Then what's needed, I guess, is also well, to well, help developers with different means to, well, find well, ways to fund applications internally and externally, right? So I think this is probably the most important matter right now. So well, there are different talks, and well, it's hard to coordinate, right, and organize this stuff in, well, totally uncontrollable environment. So let's see.
Christy, how do you manage a treasury with a temporary DAO? Where do you put the treasury? Or do you just make sure you transfer it to the new DAO as it hops over, kind of thing? Or
yeah, so the idea, you know, is well, to send here remaining treasury if there will be remaining ERCs at the end of 2025 to the new DAO, right? But yeah, having well, totally new members, maybe even Right. So the idea is that every organization should have some limited time frame, I believe. And so if there is something persistent such as treasury, maybe it's better just to pass to the new organization, right? And then well, it should work, right? If there are no many DAO members profiting from treasury, at least, right?
We managed to pull it off with a SIGs DAO when we went from beta to production, but it was tricky because we use the same token, so people would unstake from the beta DAO before we fully had everything transferred over, and we had to rely on the last few people that were still on the beta DAO to finish up the token send on the DAO. So that was a fun little test of that kind of theory.
All right. And then, I think also, for, and here's where Ergo devs can synchronize with Sigmanauts. So there is need to have some vision, right? Like common vision. What do we imagine when we are talking about future of the ecosystem, right? Because the protocol, it's more or less done, right? So, well, if one is taking a look into EAPs, right, then it's easy to realize that all the modifications come so that they are soft forkish, right? So 6.0 is just basically adding new functionality and tweaking existing one just a little bit by fixing just very few things. And then input blocks are backwards compatible, so old clients will just receive full blocks like they're doing now, right? So it's basically the same protocol, right? Just augmented with some peer-to-peer machinery and enforced in soft forkish way, so only miners would recognize the difference, right? Because my miners do need to generate some new fields, right? But all clients can just skip them and that's it. And the idea, is to avoid modifying the protocol. So basically, at this point, Ergo is already like Bitcoin back in 2012, 14, right? So quite, I don't know, well-established protocol, right? Maybe still experiencing some developments like what happened with Bitcoin. Segwit taproot, right? So Segwit soft fork was actually quite hard soft fork. Maybe we had even harder with 5.0. right, where old clients actually were downloaded to SPV security. For all the transactions. 6.0 would be like Segwit in regards with activation exactly. Only for new kinds of transactions, using new opcodes, existing clients would be downloaded to SPV security, right? Just blindly trusting the new nodes for validation, right? But only for new kinds of transactions, like happened with Segwit actually. And probably taproot also, but I'm not quite familiar with taproot activation details, even, to be honest. And then input blocks are just about modifying peer-to-peer level, adding some new structures to block extension. section of a block, right? And so it would be even more soft, right? And then so the idea basically is to have a protocol which is not touched a lot, right? And then which can be evolved by building on top of it, right? So without application developers having fear that the core protocol would break everything, like many blockchains around actually can change. I don't know, even block time. So many blockchains are changing block time, even where it's possible to do contracts based on block height, which is quite insane, because basically that means that during such changes, all the applications relying on block height have been broken. And so on. But yeah, that's what's going on. But I think, the proper way is to follow the Bitcoin way, right, in regards with updating the protocol, in order to have global neutral money, right, with all the Bitcoin issues, basically, like scalability, but support for certain constructions such as side chains, and security budget issues, or absence of tail emission or demurrage. So all those issues are fixed here, right? So then in the long term, this protocol, the Ergo protocol, doesn't have issues, right? But it's still the global neutral kind of money, ultra fixed money, as how demurrage wizard Louis saying. And then also on top of this global ultra fixed money protocol, you can build other sorts of money, right? Like having good money for everyone. So you can have stable coins, right? Then tokenized real world assets. With insurance in form of algorithmic assets, right? So you can have tokenized physical gold secured with algorithmic gold stablecoin based insurance. Then there are tools to get more assets from outside, from the real world, right, in the first place, but then also from other chains, via different cross-chaining applications such as Rosen, right? And then, with that, there are also tools, there will be tools to, do monetary expansion, so such as chain cash, and I believe there is need maybe for other systems, for example, to have off-chain peer-to-peer cash based on on-chain reserves, right? So maybe even on-chain manifestation of trust, right? So we can imagine maybe in future even trusted issuers like Tether, right? Issuing nodes in chain cash on top of Ergo, along with other entities which may have reserves, right? On-chain reserves, not trust, blind trust that we basically have in case of Tether, and so on, right? So this is kind of global ultra fixed neutral money, but also platform for producing more money via different forms of monetary expansion, right? That's some thoughts which I would like to share.
I still can't wrap my head around off-chain exchange of these notes. How do you imagine that happening?
Actually, I tried. I spent a few weeks, basically lost a few weeks back in 2023, trying to get one form of chain exchange of chain cash notes, right? But the protocol got overly complicated. So at some point I just gave up because there were a lot of security issues on the way, right? And by resolving them, I've got even more complex protocol with even more possible security issues, maybe. And so, but recently, what I realized, by observing some other, attempts like Arc on Bitcoin. So, you can have completely simplified protocol if, exchange of considering totally trustless off-chain protocol, you may assume payment servers in case of Arc of off-chain payment solution for Bitcoin. It's called Arc payment server. Right, you may have a federation instead, right? Like maybe Rosen watchers even to tracking the state of off-chain. Right, and then you may have you may use then those guardians of off-chain state in on-chain protocols, and then then it shouldn't be hard. So I don't have concrete contracts yet because I'm currently fixing some other issues in chain cash contracts when I have spare time, and I don't have it basically. But after fixing those issues, so I think to do another attempt, and it seems doable. As well, it seems doable to do kind of Arc on top of Ergo, and it would be simplified in opposite to the Bitcoin version, and also in regards with Ergo. So what I'm looking at is that you may have not just simple off-chain payments, right? Like I'm just sending payment to you, just like some value, right? Like 5 ERC, right, off-chain. But there could be actually some off-chain contracts also, with this, some on-chain guarantees. I believe I made once a tweet on that. One tweet probably, or something like that. But at some point I will consider that carefully and write down details how could that be possible. Then you may have programmable off-chain cash backed by on-chain reserves. So basically, realizing the initial dream of Helfini, right? So not Satoshi maybe, but the maybe Satoshi, if Helfini is a part of Satoshi's identity. So the idea was that if one ledger is not enough, maybe it would be just like a settlement layer, right? For basically banks. And then those banks may have some protocols on top of that, and that was understood by many, like blockchain is Bitcoin, at least, would be just a network between traditional financial institutions, right? And then they will run Lightning network channels with their respective clients, right, and so on. But I think, well, it should be done differently, right? So we need to have kind of free banking network here. So, well, peer-to-peer banking network where everyone may become a bank, and then, yeah, well, it should be covered by collateral rights or trust. Well, so. It's what we have to some degree, but yeah, it's now totally not formalized, right, and done it quite broken way. Like, well, most of the crypto industry is just blindly trusting Tether, right?
Yeah.
While blaming it. So, well, it's kind of I don't know, bipolar state of crypto when like everyone is hating Tether and using USDT at the same time.
Yep.
And then yeah, well.
Yeah, I hate you, but I can't quit you. That's like, it sounds like a love story. I hate you, but I can't. You're so bad for me, but I can't quit you.
Yeah.
I wish I
Right,
could quit you. What was that line from that one movie that the QX told me to watch? Yeah, I wish I knew how to quit you. What is it?
What is that from? I don't know.
It's from Brokeback Mountain. It's a meme as well.
Oh, it is. I wish I knew how to quit you. Yep. Great movie, Dan. Cushion. Speaking of P2P stuff, I saw something really cool. I think it was Reddit. Yes, yesterday or the day before. Somebody was asking people to check out their app that they're developing, and they developed a reputation-based peer-to-peer on-ramp. So what it does is it connects people. It's just an app that connects people that want to buy Bitcoin in cash. It was for Bitcoin to buy Bitcoin in cash and a meetup space as well as reputation. So I can understand that it's not a good idea probably to meet somebody with a wad full of cash to buy Bitcoin in a dark place. But I guess that's where he's trying to beat it with.
Isn't that the same as local Bitcoins though?
Is that what it is? There is something already like
local
that?
Bitcoins. I don't know if it's probably still around, but I remember back in like 2016 or something like that.
Oh, I remember local Bitcoin back in 2012. Yeah, so it was.
I mean, they were already around for a while by then. But yeah, I remember like 2015, 2016. I used to use local Bitcoins.
Yeah.
Was it reputation based?
Yeah. So it had rating, and yeah, it was since I don't know, 2011, 12, and yeah, but basically it got shut down. It's I don't know, like
By the government?
Around late 2010s.
Well, I don't know.
It was soft kind of shut down. So, well, I had talks with the CTO basically back in 2015. And so back in 2015, so, well, the provider, hosting provider, so Hetzner, got phone calls from banks, well, informing that, whether you are switching local Bitcoins off or, well, we are switching you. I mean,
wow.
From processing, credit card processing,
Yikes.
But finally, well, they shut down themselves after some European regulation came into power, I believe. But yeah, they had few steps. I mean, becoming more and more shitty on the way, trying to be compliant, more and more compliant. And then so they had some follow-ups such as hodl. Which is also quite interesting because it's also using some escrow contracts like multi-signature based escrows and so on. And it's a bit popular certain places as far as I know, but yeah, it's nothing near local Bitcoins. And yeah, what was good about local Bitcoin? So back then, liquidity on exchanges was quite crappy, right? Even on biggest ones like MTGOX, BTC, back in 2013, for example. So, well, and it was hard to on-ramp, right? So,
It's back then it was super hard. I mean, because local Bitcoins was actually out here in Japan. As well. There was you could find some people doing local Bitcoins, but yeah, it was like a lot of times it would price gouge because it was so difficult to on-ramp money for Bitcoin back then. And yeah, I mean, even now with HODL, they still try to bullshit you about that. So like once in a while, you actually find somebody who just wants to trade. You know, he wants to like, okay, I got some whatever. I'll buy some crypto from you, or I'll sell you some crypto or something like that, and they'll just basically do it at whatever the rate is. And then, but then there's like the people that do it for for a living. And I get, paying somewhat of a premium, but some of these guys want like 10%. And then they give you some bullshit about it's like, oh, well, a cash, it's something really stupid. Like cash is difficult to come by right now for Bitcoin. I'm like, no, it's not. Like, what are you talking about? No, it's not. It's not difficult at all. Yeah, so it's like HODL is actually pretty okay. But it's still like there's not like sometimes you'll find somebody to trade with right away, and you'll find somebody good. But many times, like a limited amount of times, you'll find somebody really good. Most of the times, you'll find somebody who does it for a living, and they'll want to get at least 5-10% commission from you.
I mean, I think that's okay. There's a premium to pay for non-KYC nowadays. I think there's a market for that.
No, 10%, really?
I hear you.
They turn right around and sell it at an exchange. I mean, 10%.
Yeah.
And no, it's like I remember a few. I'd pay a few percent, but not 10%. And 10% is obnoxious, especially if you're trading. I mean, so like okay, you're trading like some small amount or something. Still not okay, but it's doable. But if you're asking somebody to to do 10% on like a $10,000 purchase, that's $1,000. I'm not gonna pay $1,000 for that. For what? For having some money on hand? I mean, and it's not even that much money. So anyway.
I mean, we could do something like Kushti. We could do something like this on Ergo once messaging is in place. You could build a D app that's self-hosted, so nobody can shut it down. With a special format of putting those peer-to-peer on ramps on chain in a messaging block, and just do it that way. You could build that on chain.
Yeah, well, it was proposed by HQ to use, unsurprisingly, Mu Finance, so they have some escrow contracts. And so, yeah, well, I'm actually willing to try them. I don't know. I need to check escrow contracts, and well, we need to think actually how to use. So, yeah, I believe a lot of tooling's already there, right, on Ergo. It's just well, time to actually use it and find different use cases for tooling available. All right, and yeah, well, checking the charts. Yeah, well, there is good reminder from Canon Q. So more than 27,000 ERC in bounties are available for developers to earn. And move projects and ecosystem forward. Yeah, so well, there is link in the charts, and yeah, well, actually, I've posted the link also just like 1 hour ago or like that in the main group, and yeah, some other groups, and yeah, it's also posted in Ergo developers and so on. So yeah, well, developers, well, we have more than 27,000 ERC in bounties in different projects, and yeah, in different form also. So it's not just ERC. So there are bounties in the chain cache repository, denominated, sorry, in gold. There are some bounties in Rosen repositories denominated in RSN, unsurprisingly. Then, yeah, there are gold Oracle reward token denominated bounties. I believe still there are some in, well, Oracle repository. And maybe some other repos. There are SigUSD. Yeah, there are some issues in well, Ergo repository, so protocol client, reference protocol client repository, denominated in gold also, so Gluon based gold token and so on. So yeah, a lot of things going on. So then, when can we pay bounties to developers in Lithium? That would be funny. It's the
Actually,
goals of 21st century, right?
of course, of course. Actually, yeah, I was just literally on a call right before this to get that going. I mean, it's going. Basically, we're talking tokenomics right now, and that's actually something that I wanted to plug you into, Alex, after they have the initial call with the tokenomics team.
Yeah, sure.
Um,
Would be happy actually.
yeah, for the gold back stable for gold back for lithium back stable coin. Yeah, but that's actually in development right now. Yeah, after we have the initial, we're actually talking to the same tokenomics team that did our tokenomics, 01X. And they're the ones that also did the tokenomics for World Mobile. So it's a really good tokenomics firm. They're partners, and so we're gonna, I guess, and also we'll plug you in and we'll talk about initial groundwork for this, because like they have a token right now on what was it, Polygon? Either ETH or Polygon. I can't remember exactly, but I think it was Polygon. But we were thinking about bringing it over, but we might just have to do a swap for the holders over there, because we probably just need to build it from scratch to make sure that it does what it's supposed to do. So, but we'll see. Yeah. But very soon we'll be able to do that. Very soon.
Right, nice. Because yeah, I think tokenized commodities as well as cross-chain assets is what's needed, right, for producing different and good kinds of money on top of after. And yeah, also to build the different DeFi and so on, right? But then yeah,
I mean, that's the thing. Legacy financial markets aren't just built on the stock market, and the bond market, but they're also built on a commodity market by a huge part. The price of gold, price of silver, price of copper, all this stuff as a big influence on other prices. Price of oil, and just economy in general. So, if we are going to be kind of the antithesis of that market by doing it in a decentralized way, we still need to maintain some of the same basic principles of just how markets work. They're like money needs to be backed by something at some point.
Yep.
And I mean, and say in some cases it is hash rate. Some cases it is computing power. So that's also a commodity, of its own, but that comes from a commodity called electric power or
Yep.
energy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's energy-based money, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So it's still a commodity. So even with mining Ergo, you're literally still in a commodity-based financial system.
Right.
But it's just being converted. Yeah, but we just need to have other ones as well. We need to have lithium. We need to have gold. We need to have other other metals and commodities that are essentials. So yeah, absolutely needed.
Yeah, and then so the point is then other forms of money such as stable coins like the DAI USDT and so on. So they should be backed by good kinds of collateral, right? Like good commodities. So
Yeah. I mean, commodities are really irreplaceable in many ways. I mean, it's just the same with with gold. I mean, why is gold still so popular? I mean, obviously, it's not used for making coins anymore as much, but it's still a hot commodity, and that's kind of the the nature of a truly base commodity like that. Because even now that, okay, we might back something with it. Why do we back something with it? Because it still has obviously internationally world agreed on value. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, it still has high utility, even if you're not making coins from it. Like say back, several hundred years ago, you had gold coins people were paying with. Now you use it in electronics just as much, and in fact, right now I would say gold is more of an industrial metal than a like a jewelry precious metal. I mean, again, I don't know the statistics for that, but it seems like the utility of gold in electronics probably outweighs the utility of gold in jewelry and just in its raw form for monetary, for hedging value. And so, I mean, that's it. 500 years ago, who would have known that gold would be supporting electronic circuitry? And the same circuitry that's actually being used to mine Ergo right now. You need gold for that. I mean, it's one of its unique properties that it doesn't oxidize. So yeah, so that's it's like that, and it's like that across the board. And I think if we want to have a thriving system, we need to adopt that. We are adopting it as an ecosystem in Ergo. We have Gluon. We're talking about algorithmic commodities, which are actually really interesting as well to explore. We might even see later down the line to do a fully algorithmic lithium-backed stablecoin.
Yeah.
After we establish the Oracle network for what we're doing. So yeah, quite a lot of possibilities.
Yeah, and actually, I had a talk with Anon Real recently. So he made a pre-announcement on Twitter already. So he's working on index funds, So then you may have for lithium, which is like 20% algorithmic and 80% physical, or whatever, 50-50, right? So that's also quite interesting option,
yeah.
right?
A lot of interesting stuff going on, and yeah, we should see something really soon. So I think the community is going to be really happy once we have some news coming out. But anyway, guys, listen. Unfortunately, I have to drop off right now.
What about questions?
well, I mean,
ducking the questions. Classic
you guys
Dan.
do the questions. You get QX to do something. He hasn't been really doing much.
All right, so we have 15 minutes for questions, actually.
Yeah, guys, stay on. QX is going to answer all your questions. Alex, you're in charge.
Yeah,
all
so
right.
then I will message you after, but
okay,
maybe tomorrow because it's late, right, on your side. So
yeah. Well, it's we still have a space in about an hour, so
yeah,
it's okay. It's okay. But anyway,
yeah. All right, so yeah, let's discuss different.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Bye, Dan.
Bye, QX.
So, there we go. Andy's got to fix our pictures. Let me sit up so people can see us. There we go. Well, I'll talk while he's fixing this. So, hey, Kushti, I introduced yesterday was Wednesday, right? Tuesday. I introduced Cornell Brick to goodness, maybe 300, 400 students, the entire architecture classes, and then some of our remote students in New York City. It was an interesting response. The initial response, I think I saw some eye rolls when I discussed that we were integrating blockchain tech into our stuff, and then I went on to explain a little more about a system of trade value between peer-to-peer people and like a let system, what we're trying to do. And then their eyes lit up when they realized they could use these tokens for credits for free plotting, for free large format printing initially. So that got their attention. So right now, the system's all set up. I have the Tipperbot set up. I have my front end and back end of the plot submission stuff all set up to take the Ergo payments for Brick, and so that's ready to go and tested. We just have to work on a little bit of a tutorial to show kids how to. We've written text, but these guys like our visual, so just need to make a quick video on how to request or get a TipperBot wallet, and then we'll either probably just tip out manually for now, or once that happens, perhaps do an airdrop if we can get kids to get their own address and actually know what they're doing. I think they'll be better off with TipperBot in the long run, but we'll see. So that's pretty cool coming up. The funny thing is, Kushti, in the small group that I was discussing this with, one of the kids raised their hand and was like, "Can we collect this and sell this?" And I was like, well, it's permissionless. You can do whatever the hell you want. But, if I find this token on a DEX and it has some system of monetary value on it, that may have some more tax implications that I'm willing to deal with. So I may just nuke the coin by reissuing another one and airdropping it to everybody that holds the old one. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully it doesn't end up on a DEX anywhere with a value attached to it. But it could.
Yeah, but so what's good about that permissionless finance? I mean, like totally permissionless. So it's easy, to try to find market value, right? If any, and then we may expect people to try to find market value. Then I mean, you can try to sell. Anything. The question is who will buy it, right? All right. So let's jump on questions. So we have.
All right, perfect. What do we have?
A lot of messages, but there are the question. Hi, just two basic questions, please. What is the basic difference between Ergo simple send transaction process? And why smart contracts are possible on Ergo and not on Bitcoin? I mean, difference between Ergo and Bitcoin. So I see only one question here, right? So difference between Ergo and Bitcoin, actually.
Well, the first one he's asking if there's a difference between send and receive transactions, which there's not. You're just making new boxes all the time between send and receive. It's all about destroying boxes and creating new boxes with permissions for certain keys to access those boxes or ownership of those boxes. That's all send and receive is with UTXO, so that's easy. Sorry, Kushti, go ahead and answer the second part.
Yeah, so basically a transaction is about, destroying old, programmable digital monetary notes, right, and creating new ones, right? So there is no send and receive, right, if we are taking it on this low level. And then difference between Ergo and Bitcoin and contracts. So in the first place, Bitcoin is allowing for contracts, actually, right? There were lots of proposals for Bitcoin, and theoretically there are a lot of contracts on Bitcoin utilizing different techniques, actually. In the first place, what's good? So everything possible on Bitcoin is also possible on Ergo, right? So no exceptions found to the moment. So multi-signatures, what else? Discrete lock contracts. Then adapter signature based. How's it called? So atomic swaps, and then simple hash-based atomic swaps, So everything is possible on Ergo and so on, right? Lightning Network channels, other layer 2 solutions, right? So they're possible, but Ergo is allowing for a lot more because, simply, more blockchain context is available during transaction validation. There are certain proposals for Bitcoin to be closer to Ergo, right? So, such as exposing spending transaction to spending script of transaction input, but it's still not there. Then Yeah, so simply, yeah, richer context, and then more opcodes, and also, well, more sophisticated cryptography, right? So if we are talking about Sigma protocol, so you can easily do things which are hardly doable or nearly impossible on Bitcoin. So, for example, there is Ergo mixer, right, which is non-interactive, non-custodial mixer. And for Bitcoin, there was a proposal using a bit similar cryptography, actually, yeah, quite similar, called Sneaker. But yeah, it was interactive in the first place, so there was need for some peer-to-peer based bulletin board, right, for mixer related messages. And then, yeah, it also was quite hard to implement. So there was some startup, but well, no delivery still. And yes, 6 years actually passed since the original sneaker proposal. So, well, Ergo mixer proposal. The protocol appeared around the same time, actually, so 2018, right? It was when I came to the idea, developing, well, thoughts of Amitabh. So Amitabh had some thoughts, but yeah, well, his initial construction was based on non-existing cryptographic primitive. So I made a practical solution, then sent it to Professor Raisin, got review, and yeah, so some modifications, and then yeah, one of them was implemented back in 2020, right? So just months basically after the mainnet launch, and yes, so for Bitcoin sneaker, still there is no implementation, and yeah, probably would never be. So yeah, that's the difference. So well, in short, well, contracts, a lot of contracts also possible in Bitcoin, but yeah, in practice we see only multi-signatures, and yeah, multi-signatures also different on Ergo, more feature rich. And yeah, Lightning Network, which is not so popular for Bitcoin even still, I guess. And so yeah, well, it's not implemented by anyone on top of Ergo still.
Well, I think just from an not outside, but a general easy perspective to point to, right? And part of what you said, right, is that Ergo uses a EUTXO set, extended UTXO, as opposed to Bitcoin just UTXO. So you're, as you said in your dialogue there, that Ergo has a much more opportunity for more feature-rich contracts built into that with that extended UTXO set. Making really cool things like escrow contracts, like you said, the mixer, like specific what's Mu doing with their LP fundraising, all those kind of things. It makes it a very robust library of smart contracts you can create compared to your limitations on Bitcoin. So I think an easy thing to think of is Ergo is kind of like Bitcoin on steroids, or Bitcoin 4.0 or 5.0. I don't want to say 2.0 because I think it's more than 2.0, Kushti. It's,
yeah, actually, but yeah, around the mainnet launch, so Catena presented it as Bitcoin 1.0 because, you know, well, the Bitcoin is still about 0.20.
Oh.
You know, and yeah, so his idea was that yeah, it's kind of like finished Bitcoin, so Bitcoin 1.0, which may be seen in decades if we are talking about the grandfather. So yeah, well, still they're just starting to discuss well, possibility of demurrage, tail emissions, and yeah, maybe they will spend like 5 to 7 years in another civil war on that. Let's see.
I mean, there's that advantage about Ergo, how fast things can pivot.
Yeah, but Ergo was made kind of complete, right? Like Bitcoin 1.0 since day one. And yeah, happily, it was flexible enough, right, to allow for non-breaking protocol updates. But yeah, actually, Bitcoin is also quite good at that. So, what they developers did, like Segwit and Taproot. So yeah, they are pure acts of art of soft forkability, let's say. All right, more questions?
Yeah, let's see. We've got one. Oh, somebody's asking about quantum processors again. I know you spoke about this before, but they're saying.
Yeah, so nothing changed since that AMA. So, but yeah, it seems dust settled, right? So, well, crypto is still
Standing.
yeah working, and people now seemingly not worrying so much, right? But yeah, there is need to consider something.
We got somebody. Luke's asking about the same comparison between Ethereum smart contracts and Ergo smart contracts. You have the bandwidth to talk about that, Christy?
Yeah, but if we are talking about Ethereum, so Ethereum is actually totally different, right? So Bitcoin is following programmable money paradigm of Bitcoin, and Ethereum is actually a quite different beast. So yeah, it's how they're calling it, decentralized world computer. But yeah, it's more like replicated programmable calculator, right? So we're very limited, kind of computational device everyone in the world has access to. And so yeah, they tried to sell initially, I know, like, yeah, the decentralized computer for, all kinds of applications on the blockchain. So that was the time, especially back in 2016, 17, when, the space finally got full with, enterprise evangelists, talking the same mantra, basically, not Bitcoin, but blockchain. And the idea was that you don't need for those risky uncontrollable peer-to-peer money. So
That's
you need for somewhat
more control.
decentralized applications, like, I don't know, decentralized Uber. I don't know why you need for decentralized Uber. I mean, who needs for decentralized Uber? Who actually may care even? I mean, who cares? I mean, if taxi is coming from centralized server or decentralized, and also how do you measure this decentralization? So if that's I don't know, decentralized Uber is controlled by a few whales, right? And decentralized Uber DAO, how is it different from board of directors, right? And centralized and so on. But yeah, I mean, it's still alive, I believe, but now in even worse form. So Web3, right? So when, I mean, people are talking about Web3 projects. So I think it's like grandsons of that, initial wave of absurd. But yeah, it's now like complete absurd. So usually when you listen about Web3 project, you may be sure, I mean, it's pretty meaningless. All right, and so going back to Ethereum, so with time, all the applications on Ethereum, after all, are financial, right? And then the question is, why to build general purpose vault computer, right, which is still working on financial applications on the right. And so that actually was the Ergo value proposition. That was our statement, better to say, back in 2016, 17, even, right? So, as counteraction to all that, not Bitcoin, but blockchain absurd. So, well, I've said pretty clearly back then that blockchain is well, it's a totally inefficient database, right? And there is very little hope it would be useful for any applications but financial, right? Simply because, unlikely there would be sustainable economic model, right? I mean, you can issue token, right? And, make a buzz and by that sponsoring, inefficient economy of something like, I don't know, decentralized Uber or whatever. But yeah, after all, probably it would fail, right? And then, yeah, the question is why to use blockchain, right? When it doesn't make sense economically and so on, right? So.
Can we break this? Sorry, can we break this down to a small, like a level that that the average crypto user can understand that they deal with every day? And that would be, I would say, what makes Ethereum when I can sign a contract and if I don't specifically maybe read through all of it, or maybe it's hidden to me from what little I understand of Ethereum, something can then be taken from my wallet further on down the chain as it makes hops without my permission after I did the initial permission. Whereas at Ergo, right, you see the one transaction right there that's not going to make any hops, and you could read it right there in the wallet usually to do that. What's can you speak to that at all? What's the risk factor with those transaction signings on Ethereum where you give permission for money to be taken out later hops down the road compared to Ergo where it's kind of a one and done, more in my mind a more secure kind of process?
Yeah, actually, there are a lot of consequences, but yeah, it's just after all, a consequence of world computer decision, right? So when you have like this can of worm, right, of programs in your computer, then they can call each other, right? Call out of hibernation. So that's quite natural for decentralized computer, but yeah, if you're thinking about programmable money, that doesn't make sense, right? So if a note in your pocket is calling program from another program, that doesn't make sense actually. So that was like basic decision, right? So whether you position it as programmable money or as decentralized somewhat computer for unclear purposes. And then when you have decentralized computer, then you have those calls between programs quite naturally, right? So why not to do that? But yeah, financially it has a lot of consequences such as reentrancy bugs, right? And then flash loan attacks and so on. So
right.
A lot of totally unintended scenarios, right? When we are talking about financial environments. But because it wasn't designed actually for financial environments even. I mean, it's quite surprising, but yeah, the idea, if you listen to, initial presentations by Vitalik and so on, back in 2014, yeah, so they tried to do decentralized applications without, I don't know, considering, I mean, what could... So it was years before DeFi and so on, right? And the first contracts on Ethereum also were, I mean, they were financial to some degree, like smart locks, right? It was the first maybe big concept I've heard about. And then the team of smart locks switched to the DAO, right, which is also financial contract. So, I mean, they tried initially to do something different, like those Web3 decentralized computer, which was continuation maybe of earlier ideas, I believe, of Namecoin and so on. I mean, the idea is also to build decentralized infrastructure, right, in the same blockchain and so on. But yeah, I mean, after all, what I'm thinking about, well, so whether it's about decentralized infrastructure or whatever, so blockchain part should be about money, right, for financial part. So if we are talking about Rosen, for example, right? So watchers, so what they are doing on chain, so what the protocol is doing on chain is incentivization, right? Punishment. A side of very lean kind of reporting. So you don't try to, I don't know, validate another blockchain in your contract. But yeah, there were certain attempts to do that on top of Ethereum in early years even. So yeah, I mean, Ethereum, which we do have in result, is quite different from what was envisioned, right, by the team initially. And there are certain issues, I believe, in the initial design, if you are talking about how it got used, and there was no any other way actually. And I said about that back in 2016-17. It was quite clear that, you know, when, you know, people thought about, well, putting gigabytes of certificates, land registries and so on blockchain. So the first question is why, you know, it was the first question. Yes, such attempts, yeah, always failed. Because yeah, well, it's not about financial part, right? So maybe you can connect land registry with some things on blockchain, right? But then, yeah, well, some lean part should be on blockchain only, I believe, right? And this lean part should be thoughts in regards with incentivization and so on. So it will be heavily financial, let's say, then.
All right. Let's see. I think that's all we got, Kushti.
Yeah, well, there are good questions.
All right, pick one out then. We got time.
Oh, but yeah, actually. So yeah, one about Oracle pools.
Yep, I got it. Go for it. It's Alex. Alex, if you have time, can you quickly go over how to get an Oracle pool working? Oh, sorry. Go for it.
Another question is about one guy launching meme coins.
Yeah, we can get to that second. Here, talk about how easy it is. Well, I guess for a normie to get an Oracle pool working, what that involves. And I think he's referring to your post on X the other day with the AGUSD protocol on GitHub.
Right. So, well, there is Oracle pool software. Actually, Oracle Operator software available on GitHub, right, which is open sourced and free to use. So yeah, it has some free license, so it's free to use, free to modify, and I need to check, but yeah, I believe commercial use and so on is also okay. Yeah, need to recheck, but yeah, I believe it should be. In this Oracle software, so there is part talking with blockchain, right, posting transactions and so on, and there is also connector, right, which is fetching data from outer world and delivering to the blockchain component. Right, and that connector is just like 50 lines of code, right? And if you are just modifying it in regards with fetching data from another website, then yeah, you need to modify maybe just like 10 lines of code, something like that, right? And by modifying that part, so by modifying connector, so you may fetch different kinds of data. So lithium price, for example.
Price of lithium, yeah.
Oil price.
Oil.
Whatever. So then you just distribute that Oracle pool modified software to operators, right? So of a new pool. And then, yeah, you may issue your own Oracle reward token, right? And then you have some federation, right? Basically a cooperative entity on the blockchain. You can think of it as kind of DAO, right? Oracle pool, actually. And
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah.
yeah, kind of specific DAO, right? And yeah, it's delivering data from the outer world, right? It's getting custom tokens as rewards. And then what can you do is, well, to launch products, right? Like stablecoins. For example, yeah, HUSD repository is also open sourced and free to use. Then Gleon repository is open. Yeah, about licensing, I'm not sure, probably because yeah, I know Bruno has some rules about yeah, using his code, so you'd better check with him. So probably you need to contribute something to his DAO also, right? Stability Nexus.
In Kushti, if you want, you don't have to spin up it's not like an Oracle. Let's say you develop an Oracle. You want to do Oracle for sports betting, right? And you want to bring scores on chain from reporting from some of the major reporting agencies, I guess. You can essentially include a lot of text in that report, correct? So it's not like you're only reporting the score of one team, or you're reporting from one gold source of price. You can bring all those scores together and essentially put them on chain all at once as a report. So it's not like you need to spin up 10 oracles if you want to get 10 different prices from different scores or that kind of thing from your sources. You can do it all in one shot if somebody wants to develop something like that, right?
Yeah, so so you mean to deliver numeric data, right? Still.
Yeah, let's say I want to follow football, so every single week we want scores to be online. We can do that all in one Oracle shot, right? One Oracle team can do that.
Yeah, but yeah, so current Oracle pool implementation, yeah, it's about epochs, right? It's oriented towards epochs, but yeah, for one shot, yeah, I think it's not hard to modify as well, right? So maybe you can even yeah, you can even tweak connector just. That's interesting question. But maybe it's enough to modify connector just, right? And then yeah, so you post something, then yeah, Oracle stop to post, and then when next event is coming, then connector is providing next data point, right? So then yeah, every epoch it's yeah, data points related to different events, but yeah, still it's possible to use the current design, I believe. But yeah,
or something as simple as just a hash. The Oracle's reporting a hash of a large amount of data offline. So it's
yeah, about hash, yeah, so currently well, contracts are oriented towards using numeric data because they're also well doing averaging, right, in the smart contracts and removing outliers, right, to prevent wrong data being posted, like cheaters and so on. So yeah, in case of hash, using hash, there is need to modify our Oracle core as well. And Yeah, well, I need to check. Actually, one of MHS students, I believe, worked on such modification to, well, deliver hash. So what was motivation in that work is delivery of IPFS hashes, right, for some content on Ergo blockchain. But yeah, well, I don't know about status and where you can find repo if it's available. To be honest, need to check.
Very cool. All right, we got this question that you read. Do you think it's fair to say this current bull market is all fueled by the whims of one man who himself is personally profiting from launching meme coins? In 4 years, U.S. sentiment could flip back. That's from Augustus.
Oh, but that's probably a question to you because yeah, I mean it's probably yeah involving. I mean answering that's probably involving some knowledge of U.S. politics, right? And yeah, I have zero.
So what we see with U.S. politics, at least in my experience with what the current president is doing, is they're able to come in day one and make some sweeping executive changes just by signing a few orders, right? So possibility, yes, right? Gary Gensler's out. I think he left the day that Trump was officially sworn in. So it could change day one, and we can see these things actually can change before the person takes office. Look at the TikTok ban, right? So the U.S. had a TikTok ban, and Trump, relayed that, hey, if any state company helps turns on their servers again, there will not be penalties for them. So feel free to do that. It was a couple days before, but he wasn't president yet, and they still were able to do that. So there's influence even beyond that. So I would say anything goes in that matter. You could get, with the U.S. elections, usually it swings one way than the other way. So you could get a more conservative on crypto stance president next, who may make some shore up some things that Trump opened up. The thing that really worries me, well, I try not to think about it, but the thing that really worries me is that the amount of, I think we need to separate from what we see with like the Melania coin and the Trump token and the Bannon token and all those kind of things. That's not what our mission ever was. That's not what Ergo does. I mean, sure, the ability's there for us to do it. Anybody can come on and do that, but that's not what the core mission is, or anything off the Ergo manifesto. That's actually completely opposite of what the manifesto is saying in that point. So it's difficult. But back to your original question. Do I think it's fueled by the whims of one man? I think it's data points to the fact that when people learned that Trump was winning and Trump was pro-crypto, and the people that were not pro-crypto were going to be kicked out of the government, like Gensler, I think that definitely kick-started a rise there. So yeah, I mean, it could be tied to that. I think potentially, yeah. Kushti?
Yeah, but what I'm thinking about this current bull market. So, yeah, is it bull market even?
Well, yeah, definitely kicked it off, right? I mean, the question is, will the bull market last 4 years through his presidency? And if it does, is there a chance that a new president that is not as crypto friendly could start a downturn of a bull market?
Right. But what I'm thinking, after observing, maybe I'm witnessing too many talks about this, bull market. I mean, people are waiting for alt season bull markets.
Right. I think every other day I see a post that says alt season's here, alt season's coming.
Yeah, so, when everyone is waiting for something on the market, right, it surely won't happen. So, Yeah, maybe this time there wouldn't be like bull market for everyone, so alt season. So what we need to ensure is the coming of Ergo season, right? Recognition dependless on any external events, because
Independent of that, yeah, you were talking about that in chat yesterday or the day before, Krishti, about bringing up some, not buzzwords, but ways to catch people into what Ergo is and what Ergo does, right? And my worry would be associating it with things like the Trump coin and the Millennia coin and those kind of things. How do we, or token, I should say, how do we express what Ergo does and how it does it without feeling wrapped up in that kind of stuff or associated with?
I mean, but you're associated if only if you are working with Trump team, basically, right, on issuing those tokens.
To you and me, yeah, to you and me, but to my cousin, to my cousin and my cousin's wife, you know, who doesn't do crypto, and I talk to them about Ergo, they're like, "Oh, you mean that shit coin that the president, you know, released," kind of thing. So to the normie, it's really, you know, to us that makes perfect sense, but to somebody who's not really into crypto, it's all the same.
I see. It's still, I believe, question of positioning, right? So, I mean, it's worth to, I don't know, having such different and maybe dignified position, right, in the space that's even a normie can understand that it's not about shitcoining, right? I mean, even if there are some shitcoins, I mean, there are some shitcoins on top of
yeah.
Right? Literally, so that there is a token with shit.
There's a shit emoji token,
and so on, and it's permissionless finance, so you cannot do anything about that, and it shouldn't be considered even, right? I believe what to do with that. I mean, that's just part of blockchain life. But then the only thing you can do really in such environment is to work on a positive side of things, I believe, right? So to consider what can you do in opposite to all those crazy tokens, right? I mean, if you don't like them, so I mean, it seems some people are enjoying those meme coin casinos, right? Basically,
right.
It's their choice, but I mean, if you're on another side of things, so what can we do is just to build, right, and to think how to build positive things.
So I try to jump into practicality in those instances when I'm trying to explain something. I say, look, right now you put 10% of your salary into a investment plan. I said, what happens if you need to, do something for your house? What's the work look like to get that money out to use it? What's a penalty you pay? And then I say, Ergo has alternatives with the blockchain where you can, save some money in stable coins on chain and then lend those out with kind of an immutable protocol that's very safe for your funds. And you can make yield on those. And then if you need a loan, in the future, you can then pull those out and put those in and get a loan out based on something like SigmaFi, and then pay it back at your own will, at your own speed, with no late fees or anything like that, except for liquidation at the end, of course. And then I talk about things like, you have old electronics, you have goods you want to sell, and you want more buyer protection or seller protection than something like eBay can offer. You have stuff like Mu Finance that's for that kind of stuff. So the stuff that exists on Ergo, while it may mimic what's in the real world, it really gives you more control over your financial value, store value. And that's what I try, talking to people when I do that. I was like, do you enjoy, being questioned when you try to cash $10,000 $100,000 out of the bank to pay somebody something, and you have to go through 20 questions. Do you enjoy waiting for checks to clear? Do you enjoy, that kind of stuff? So I think crypto, at least Ergo, does that stuff better, at least with our financial tools, with our sale tools, with all that kind of stuff.
Right. So yeah, it's about nuance control, and then when people are asking, right? I mean, so what's the value proposition? So that's the value proposition also, right? I mean, to have control over your financial life, at least, right? And then our I mean, it's not common to say maybe about money in human culture. Basically, in all the cultures, aside of very stupid things like, I don't know, buy Lambo and so on, right? How money are affecting social life. But yeah, it's one of the oldest actually tools for social interaction, right? So social interactions of different kind. And so yeah, it should be considered, and yeah, it should be also taken a nuanced form, like how you're interacting with society, and how different groups are interacting with each other using financial tooling, right? So one of the oldest tooling for social interactions, actually. Maybe it's the good time to.
Oh, we're quite past time, aren't we, Krishna?
Yeah, we passed like half an hour, actually.
All right, sounds good. Thanks so much, everybody, for joining. It's been a pleasure. Same time next week.
All right.